Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Secret Lair MTG Arena Weekly Podcast. My name is Daniel Guajardo and I am joined here by my co-host Steve Walsh. And today we are going to be talking about the Arena Open this weekend. How's it going, Steve? How are you?
It's going good. I'm just kind of getting my feet wet again with the alchemy format, as it were.
Dipping the toes.
Yeah, I guess.
It looks cool.
It certainly looks. I'll give you that. I'm trying to stay positive, but Wizards is not starting out well. We'll say that.
Yeah, especially when they try to kill our formats that we love and then they give us crap that we really don't care about. But besides that, this is the tournament this weekend.
Yeah. Okay, so a little preface as to what I was talking about there. I didn't mention this to you before the cast, but I'll let everybody know now.
Sure.
So Wizards had a tweet a little while ago where they were like, look, we're not going to perform any balance changes for alchemy or anything like that before the open. The open's this weekend. The big issue I have with that personally is that like the whole alchemy idea was that, look, it's a live format and we can make balance changes whenever we want. And now they're just like, well, we're just going to keep waiting anyways to make balance changes. So then what was the point of all of this? Yeah. Like, oh no, people need a lot of time to test. It's a digital format. People can play a bunch of games. Give us a fresh format. This one's kind of stale already. Like it's gonna be solved faster, and that's what this alchemy thing was supposed to do, was fix that, and they just kind of didn't. And that's kind of the tilt that I have with that. But that being said, get all the negative stuff out of the way first. It is an open, so people do have a chance to win a decent amount of money and have fun playing. So we'll talk about these 5 decks, which are basically, in my opinion, the 5 best decks to win your money, make day 2, however you want to look at it.
So these are all best of one, day 1 decks, right?
Yeah. I believe so. I am an old man at heart as far as Magic goes. Yeah. And I do believe in best of 3, except when it comes to these opens, because your odds of making it are better with best of 1 than they are with best of 3.
Mathematically.
Yes.
Speaking. Okay.
Yeah. With best of 1, you have to win. It's 7 wins before 3 losses. With best of 3, it's 4 match wins before 1 loss. So your odds of best of 1 are like 4% higher, I believe.
That is a big percentage.
Yeah.
And then, then the only thing that I don't like is then they force it right into best of 3 for day 2. So that's when I typically would rather stick with best of 3. So I'm nice and warm. But 4% is probably big enough for me to run best of 1s and then just switch over.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I've grown accustomed to just playing best of 1.
Yeah. Hey, that's the way the world's going, man. TikTok is one of the biggest things people do all day because it's super quick. We like.
I wasn't aware TikTok was best of 1, but all right. Normally it's best of 463, and you don't realize you're in that fucking black hole that is TikTok.
So that is the same thing with Magic, though. You call it best of 1, but it's still best of 463.
That is true. I sat down before the cast and I was like, I'll just play one game of Historic. And then I played 6 and I was like, what just happened?
There's one more, man.
All right, moving into the decks that we would play. My number 1 pick, which is we're gonna start off at number 1 because I think it's pretty far and away my pick for best deck to be playing, because it's pretty straightforward, and I believe one of the cards in it is pretty busted for alchemy, so play it while it's hot, as it were. Let's go into our Dargons list. So, pretty straightforward, as I said. Mono red dragons. Why dragons? Well, because Wizards has a knack for printing 4-drop mythic dragons, and they also just keep feeding you better cards until eventually they give us this busted little 2-drop in Fearsome Mope. Why is Fearsome Mope so good? Go ahead.
Pretty evident.
Yeah, I mean, like, because it triggers on your end step, and it keeps triggering. So no matter what, this is going to work the first time. Unless your opponent has mana up, which normally they like. Leaving mana up is bad in this format because you want to be proactive and committing to the board. So
Yeah.
if they're skipping a turn to deal with your whelp, just don't play your whelp, play something else because your opponent's just trying to commit to killing this card. Whelp is pretty insane in that just reducing the cost of Moonveil Regent, Townraiser Tyrant, Goldspan, Inferno, it starts to add up. And like these are must kill threats, but so is the whelp. So your opponent's stuck in this choice of, do I kill this whelp now or do I wait? Well, if you wait, it just makes it gets to the point where you start casting Goldspan Dragons for 3, Infernos for 3, Townraiser Tyrants for 2, and your opponent just can't keep up because your mana advantage is so high.
Jeez. Dragon Whelp has been dethroned. Fearsome Whelp.
Yeah, it's certainly the best of the best. The rest of the deck is pretty straightforward. There's a couple of like fun of one-ofs in here, like a Thunder and Rebuke and a Dragonkin Berserker.
Let's leave Bloodthirsty up there. I don't know if I. Oh, okay. Yep.
Just a value vampire that you can get a little bit more out of. Hasty 2-drop, if you will, if you need it, but it's mostly it's a 5-drop that allows you to like flashback and bolt essentially or something like that. Use your Dragon Fires more effectively.
Yeah. Wow. I'm glad to see Chandra Dressed to Kill getting a little bit of play though. Like that card.
Yeah, it's. I'm slowly coming around on it. I'm still not anywhere near where everybody else was when this card first came out. I still think it's a pretty. It's medium plus, but in the right deck, such as this one, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It
even when it's in the right deck, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's never like, man, I cannot wait to play this Chandra. So no, this card's it's the way a 3-drop planeswalker should be designed. I'm not like over the top nuts about it, but it fills in the role where you play this and you don't immediately win the game and it has to be answered. It just does what it does. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. It seems like it had some value on the on the front of it where it could be good, but I haven't got to play this deck yet, so I will not really speak too much on anything until I get to jam some games.
I mean, like I said in the beginning, it's a pretty straightforward deck. Play your early drops. You can clear the way with Dragon's Fire if you need to, but it's mostly just play Whelp on 2, and then play one of your 4 drops on 3 and just go to town. You like curving out and forcing your opponent to keep. So your opponent has to answer your Whelp, so then you get to use your Townraiser Tyrant on turn 3.
It seems like you'd play more than just 2 Den of the Bugbear there. Like you really don't want to come and tap like the format's that fast.
It's the coming in the tap thing. Like it punishes you, especially if you're trying to hit everything on curve. But it's good to have a couple of man lands just to be able to manipulate what you need to. Like if you run into a Wrath or something like that.
Yeah, and like man lands are so good. They always have been.
Always have been. Always will be.
Oh yeah, no, that looks good. I'm gonna test all these before I make my choice, but this does seem like it'll be pretty high.
This is my number 1 pick. Moving into my number 2 pick, big surprise here, another aggro deck. We're gonna go into mono white aggro. Mono white aggro looks pretty much like it did before. Sadly, Luminarch Aspirant not as effective as it used to be. Wah wah wah. Still okay, but not where it was. The biggest card out of these mono white decks is Inquisitor Captain. I have been wholly impressed with how good this walking collected company is. Just a body that gets you another body, a relevant body at that, with like your 3-drops being Cathar, Spellbinder, Redain, Adeline, and Skyclave Apparition. You can answer everything out of the other aggro decks. Which in best of 1, you're probably going to run into a decent amount of aggro decks, so be prepared for that.
Okay.
The other big card out of this is Guardian Evangel. So like this is your late game draw it and just make a bunch of guys. Make a bunch of creatures, as it were. Just play a 2-drop into a 2-drop into a 2-drop until you run out of mana. Then you have a bunch of 3/1s on the board that actually clear the board to get your other guys through too.
But they're only playing 2 in the list.
Well, yeah, but every time it conjures one. So the turn you play it says conjure another one. So on turn 4, if you play this, you get another one in your hand immediately, and you get to play another one.
I guess maybe I don't know if there's none in your deck.
Okay,
You conjure.
so I'll read it. So conjure creates it out of thin air.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you play this, it conjures or puts another one into your hand out of nowhere. And you get to tap a permanent when this one comes in. So you pay 2, play it, tap a permanent, pay 2, play the next one, tap a permanent. For every amount of 2 mana you have, you basically have to go 2, play a 3/1, and then tap their permanent.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I need to definitely start playing this format, especially prior to this podcast would have been good. Sorry about that, everybody. I'm learning along here with you if that's what you're here doing.
I'm here to feed you, baby bird. Don't worry. And then it's kind of everybody's favorite manland basis, even as it were. Yeah. Beyond that, it's everything you would expect to be here. The other surprise alchemy card here would probably be Captain Eberhard. It's not really a surprise. It's just basically more copies of Thalia in your deck.
Yeah, well, and we talked about this when all the cards first came out, is that could be pretty powerful just as extra Thalia, but we didn't know if it was going to be good enough. Looks like it's good enough for a couple.
Yeah, it's good enough to do what you need to do. And Intrepid Adversary is another late game bomb where you just want to play an Anthem, pump your team, and get in there for lethal.
Yeah, that card's amazing. Nice, yeah, looks.
Yeah,
pretty fun.
There really isn't like too much detail to go into with these 2 aggro decks. It's just play your cards and get there.
Yeah, I don't like that. So, did the red one have any card draw or generate more cards out of anywhere? Because this one has no way to get cards.
Conjure generates cards for you.
Sure, but only one card has conjure, right?
This one has. So Evangel has Conjure. Inquisitor Captain also generates cards.
Okay, the Inquisitor Captain. Yep. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Okay. I'm always looking for at least something like 4 to 6 cards in the deck need to get me some more cards.
Inquisitor Captain does it. Evangel does it.
Yeah. If you type in, like mana screwed into any of the social media platforms, you can just see a billion pictures of people complaining about Arena and not knowing.
Oh man.
Most of them are just whining and not understanding how the game works, but at the same time, that's why I like cards that draw cards.
I refuse to believe that people complain on the internet.
I was surprised myself.
That sounds like a complaint. Anyways,
we needed to.
Let's go into deck number 3, as it were. Now, I will admit, at first glance, this just kind of looks like a different version of the mono white deck. But if you look closer, it's got the old cleric theme going on.
Okay.
So the payout is that you actually have a few cleric payouts that are pretty strong in Cleric of Life's Blood. Whenever another cleric on his battlefield under your control, you gain a life. Whenever you gain life the first time each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on this card. Between that, the life gain triggers from Voice of the Blessed, which is basically just your own. It's like a Johnny Pridemate on steroids.
Yeah, it's real good.
And then you have Angel of Unity, which is one of the arena only cards that they just came out with. It's basically you want to play the party game, but it gives you a flyer.
Yeah, well, for those maybe not watching the video.
Okay, yeah, sure. So 1 in the white for a 1/3 flying lifelink angel cleric. Whenever Angel of Unity enters a battlefield or you cast a party spell, choose a party creature card in your hand and it perpetually gets +1/+1. Everybody knows how Slims McKenzie gets down. This is no exception.
Notably on the artwork, the angel has 5 wings. Just odd. Looks cool. But...
Yes, 5 is an odd number. You are correct. Spot on. No, I've heard that this card itself is actually pretty strong because unlike a lot of the cards that they have recently printed, which only trigger once a turn, this triggers every time.
Yeah, I've noticed they've been removing your ability to multiple trigger like busted stuff. They're like every turn, and then I've seen a lot of activate only as a sorcery stuff too. And I was like, come on.
Yeah. Activate only as a sorcery, one trigger turn, but this one triggering every time you basically cast a creature spell out of this deck. Because I believe everything in the deck is a cleric, short of the mono Skyclave apparition.
Mhm.
Basically, every time you cast a creature spell except that one spell, it'll trigger it.
Wow, that's pretty
So
good.
you're just going to continually pump guys in your deck. Also, the other cleric theme we have is Aura Skyclave Hierophant. Black, white, 2 for a 3/3 lifelinking legendary core cleric. Whenever Aura, Skyclave Hierophant, or another cleric you control dies, return target cleric card with lesser mana value from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this is your other card advantage guy that just like chains those guys right back up.
So this
remember,
guy's
basically,
sweet.
yeah, it's really sick.
Yeah, I thought when I first saw it, I thought it was really good too, because not only that, it's like you don't want to bring in graveyard hate against this type of deck.
No.
So it makes it difficult to deal with this card in general without just exile spells.
Yeah, but like this is another value engine that just starts ripping through the deck not ripping through the deck, but like making it very difficult for these control opponents to keep up, because how do you keep up on a 1-for-1 basis when kill this guy, they re-get another guy?
Could be a really cool commander too if they continue with the cleric theme throughout the years.
I mean, I believe clerics has been a theme for a long time.
I know, but I'm just saying I've never seen anybody play a cleric tribal deck. There's just better tribes currently, so this is a good one though. One more piece towards it.
You heard it here, folks. If you're playing your cleric tribal deck, contact Dan directly.
Please send me a photo. Tell me I'm wrong.
It's got everybody's favorite 4-drop as well, Inquisitor Captain. This card, just like I said earlier, continues to impress me across the board. It's certainly the best value engine in Alchemy right now, and it's doing a number in Historic as well. So play this card while it is in its current form. Who knows when they're going to balance change it, but it's certainly probably the most. It's among the top cards that came out of the Alchemy set that has impressed me so far.
It is pretty sweet.
Yep. Deck rounds out with your basic Amaria's Call, Gate of the Frost Dragon, Hive the Eye Tyrant. There's some man lands. Once again, every aggro deck is going to have it. I think this deck, it's a little slow to start, but it kind of has a leg up on some of the other aggro matchups because you continually just gaining the life.
Yeah, I think that makes it okay to slowly start. Just like everything on here gains life.
It gains you life. It doesn't have a lot of interaction though. Its only interaction pieces that are really kind of important are a Valorous Stance and Skyclave Apparition. They play two here and then one Skyclave. So
yeah, Valorous Stance was the destroyed 4 or greater, isn't it? That's an old
Valorous Stance, for those that don't know, is target creature gains indestructible or destroy a creature with power or with toughness 4 or greater for white in 1 instant. It's a reprint and it's been good for quite a while now.
Yeah, every time it's reprinted, it's usually played at some number.
It's usually played, but it's never busted. You know what I mean?
Yep, it's a fair card. It's one of the ones we like to see reprinted.
So I guess if we're going across the spectrum, you would go dragons to mono white to clerics, which is a little bit slower, but it's got the life gain, and then we can go into the, I guess, the second to last, as it were, the mono black deck. What can I say about this deck that hasn't pretty much already been said, other than this is almost a direct port from the mono black snow deck, except now because of Sanguine Brushstroke, this deck got infinitely better. When Alchemy was first being played, this was the #1 deck, and it was strictly because of Sanguine Brushstroke. Because of the Brushstroke triggering via the blood tokens and Blood Artist just showing up, and you're now sacrifice aristocrat style outlet deck.
Yeah,
this is the reason the mono black deck is what it is today. It's a sweet card. Yeah, I think it's the only Alchemy card you play. Yeah. I'll just double check.
Play your powered down Faceless Havens.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you play your powered down Faceless Havens. It's still a 3/3 creature. It's not as fun as it once was, but
Mm.
Sanguine Brushstroke is definitely the card that took this deck from when it was like a tier 1-5 ish. You know, it wasn't quite in the upper echelons of the best deck to an alchemy hit. This is just kept it pushed and kept pushing. It just goes to show how powerful Blood Artist is.
Well, and you can note here, you know, the Eye Witch is just good because look at the sideboard. It's a best of one, but you have your learn spells or whatever they are.
Best of one have access to 7 spells, and they're all just
yeah, that's pretty sweet.
You could, without looking, tell me exactly what these 7 spells are.
Yeah, they're the same.
Yeah. The lesson learned mechanic continues to be impressive. Oh, sorry. Continues to be impressive in this format, strictly because it gives those cards that added versatility. Like Twitch itself isn't super impressive. It's a 1/1 flyer for 1, but being able to get yourself out of those situations where you need a land drop or you have to answer a problematic permanent, or you're just looking to go over the top of the mascot exhibition.
Yeah, it's great.
Just fills all the roles that you need. Yeah. There really isn't anything more to say about this deck. It's the mono black aristocrat style deck that you saw beforehand, but now it's just got a much better finisher in Sanguine Brushstroke.
Yeah, Meat Hook Massacre is still awesome.
Yep. Moving on to our last deck.
You still don't think the mono black is good enough to go up against the red or white though, or does it have maybe a good match against white, bad match against red, and that's why you wouldn't like it? Or
I think the mono red deck can't come out faster than the mono black deck can keep up, because the mono black deck doesn't have a lot of interaction per se. It comes up the ground, but the reason the Dragons deck is so good is because it takes to the skies.
Yeah, well, and mono black is also not really board wiping until 6 because Meat Hook Massacre is not going to kill 5/5 dragons. Like, but against mono white, it can do some damage.
All of your guys outpace it.
Yeah. And then this is your classic blue white.
This is your classic blue white Gandalf, as it were.
Oh yeah, with the key.
with now this is probably the most alchemy laden deck in the format, and we'll go over the hits, as it were. This card that we talked about to begin with was Divine Purge. It's basically a 3-mana pseudo wrath, which is the only reason I think this deck is good, because normally I don't like taking control decks into aggro heavy formats like this.
Oh yeah,
because a lot of the control, the way that Wizards has been designing control decks as of late is still kind of mired in the past, whereas the wraths just aren't as effective when every creature they play, your opponent plays, gives them some sort of also added value.
Yeah, like creatures
Divine
are just
Purge,
too good.
Yeah. Divine Purge cleaning up a lot of the early quick boards, like out of mono white, but also still not doing a lot against the Dragons deck, because the Dragons deck, your threats come in at 4 mana, but they're just cost cheaper because of the perpetual.
Well, and for the listeners, Divine Purge is exile all artifacts and creatures with mana value 3 or less, then perpetually gain, or they perpetually gain. This spell costs 2 more to cast, and this permanent enters the battlefield tapped for as long as each of them remain exiled. Its owner may play it. That's a mouthful.
Yeah. So essentially, wipe them out. It's like Parallax Tide, the spell.
Yeah.
Parallax Wave, the spell. I can't remember which one it is. Parallax something. Moving into, Divine Purge, moving into everybody's favorite Divide by Zero, which, once again, you know the lessons that are coming.
Yep. Everyone talks so much crap about Strixhaven too. Like, it's the worst set. No one likes it. No one cares about it.
It was certainly underpowered by a lot. It's got a handful of cards that are decently played out of them, mostly just Divide by Zero, and then the lesson learned mechanic that comes with it.
Don't forget the Eye Witch.
Eye Twitch. Yeah, it's still the lesson learned mechanic.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I like the set, but I think they focus too hard on trying to put all the fancy different cards in there than actually building the set.
I mean, they definitely, if it had come at another time in Magic when the format was weaker, it would have been a much better set. But like you can definitely tell that Strixhaven and Kaldheim and a lot of these other sets have been powered way down compared to the sets that had come before them. So like Strixhaven falls in that slot that like original Kamigawa did.
Oh,
Where like Kamigawa was terrible, but after following like Mirrodin, it was so bad. Just like everything was awful. The mana was terrible. It was a different time then. But
it happens.
Yeah.
It has to power up and power down, and they have to try to balance to change power levels, but not go too far to where the game just gets out of control. Like what Yu-Gi-Oh or something. That game I heard is just crazy high power levels from where it used to be, and you're never going back.
Yeah, that's true. It's it would be nice if they could find a better balance, but I mean, I would rather them take risks and miss than never take risks and just give us a format full of Strixhavens. So
sure, yep.
So what do you think about this
deck?
I don't mind it. It's not my play style, but it's certainly like it's the play style that you definitely know. Everybody's got that one guy in their play group that just is always a mono control guy, and this certainly falls in that.
Yeah.
I mean, between Divine Purge, Divide by Zero, Unexpected Conversion, for those that don't know, 2 and a blue, draw 2 cards. You can then exile an instant or sorcery from your hand. If you do, search your library for any number of cards with the same name as them, exile them, then shuffle. Seek an instant or sorcery card for each card exiled this way. This is just divination, but strip the crappy cards out of your deck.
Yeah.
It just thins your deck. So, like, if you get paired in the blue-white mirror, you can just take your Doomskars out of your deck and draw some more cards.
Yeah, get rid of the stuff that you really just don't want to draw into.
Moving on to everybody's favorite Planeswalker, Teferi, who slows the sunset. It's not everybody's favorite. It's just Teferi in general. Sorry, guys, my monitor off for a second. Okay, Teferi, who slows the sunset.
He slowed your monitor.
Yeah, he sucked the power out. Blue-white 2 for a 4-drop walker. +1, choose one to up to 1 target artifact, creature, and land. Untap those permanents. Tap the chosen permanents you don't control. You gain 2 life. -2, look at the top 3 of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library. Then -7, untap all permanents you control during each opponent's untap step, and you draw a card during each opponent's draw step. So why Teferi? You gain a decent amount of added value on Key to the Archive. It allows you to untap the key twice, so you can generate a large amount of mana.
Okay.
And then you can actually get to the point where you start like generating enough mana to bounce the key with your divide by zeros, and then replaying the key until you find either Approach or Day or Time Warp or something like that. Just start building up.
It's still so nuts. The spell book. Oh my god.
Yeah, because the reason, like we said before, the reason you play Key is because the spell book is so much better than every other one. Like Approach, honestly, should not be in this spell book.
No, it's just a win con. Like you don't even have to have a win con in your deck. You can just have it in the spell book.
Yeah, that's the issue, is that you can play the I don't need a way to win blue-white. That's the biggest, and I have never enjoyed the formats where that is the best deck.
Yeah, the
strictly because it takes a long time to do that. And it wasn't Amonkhet that was last time. Remember when we had blue-white Teferi, where the format was play 5 mana Teferi, your win condition is continually tucking the Teferi until your opponent decks themselves?
Yeah, that was Amonkhet, because they had there was the one Gideon sometimes in the list, and some people just didn't even play the Gideon, so Teferi was the only win con.
Yeah, that is miserable. But this is pretty much just traditional blue-white control, gain a bunch of value. Your win conditions are getting Approach via Key to the Archive, or controlling the board enough and then casting either a Maria's Call or attacking your opponent to death with the Hall of the Storm Giants. Something we didn't cover, but is probably one of the best alchemy cards in the format, would be Discover the Formula.
Yeah.
At first glance, this card doesn't seem great. It's a 6-mana instant, but after having played with it a few times, it's pretty impressive how good this card is, strictly because it is a draw 3. None of them are lands. So it's 3 hits in a row, and reducing the mana cost on them just gives you so much gasoline. Just like keep pushing through the mid to late game, just take over a game, because you're not drawing blanks.
Yeah, which is, busted, really, to be honest. But
yeah, I mean, this deck really doesn't miss any land drops because it does have 4 Dwari Disruption and 2 Amaria's Call on top of what I believe is already 24 lands.
what's Forsaken Crossroads?
Forsaken Crossroads is it's the secret alchemy card that I keep forgetting about, but it's definitely good. This is like the better than Temple's Temple.
Oh, okay.
So if you're going second, it comes in untapped. If you're going first, it's a Temple, and you get to pick the color. So here, I'll read it for the kids at home. So Forsaken Crossroads ETB's tapped. As Forsaken Crossroads enters the battlefield, choose a color. When it enters the battlefield, scry 1. If you weren't the starting player, you may untap this instead. Tap, add 1 mana of the chosen color. So pick your color, and then depending on player draw, it's either a temple or an untapped pathway, essentially.
That's neat, like play design.
This is an amazing card for play design. I think this card was perfect. I think this is the home run card out of the alchemy playbook, because it's not busted in any way, but it's powerful enough to play. Fixes your mana, great. Good on the draw, good. It's just not a bad card.
No, yeah, I think it's fine all around.
Yeah.
So I don't think I would be on this deck based on the other ones that we've just recently reviewed, as they all seem to try to go under so quickly.
I mean, and they do that too. They generate a lot of advantage. Inquisitor Captain is a very real concern as far as cards in alchemy that definitely should probably be rebalanced again. It just generates too much advantage.
Is it too much? I don't know, because we've always been looking for a card that gets you back from a board wipe, because a board wipe generates too much advantage sometimes, where then they just, proceed to win the game and you never get back into it.
See, that used to be the case, but now between all of the man lands and all of the incidental value you gain off of just playing your creatures, board wipes just aren't where they were 5 years ago. Like, wraths are almost laughably not good, based on the fact that most of them are overcosted and don't give you enough value on the backside. The wraths out of these control decks are kind of the exception, and that, like, you have a 3 mana one, which is cheap enough that it doesn't have to give you any added additional value back to be able to go like 3 mana wrath into a planeswalker, which is still a winning line if it works. Blood in the Snow, 6 mana wrath, but you get to pick anything. So basically wipe the board and then put a permanent into play that you need. Whereas cards like Wrath of God and Danger and stuff like that, they just aren't as effective as they used to be, because wiping the board doesn't really do you any good when every one of your opponent's creatures generates another card.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and then you have the clerics that are returning nonstop too. So
yeah, the clerics are continually returning nonstop. The dragons deck just go over the top of the white wrath, but under the black one. Like, they go over the top of, and I still have a hard time remembering the name of this card. They go over the top of Divine Purge, because all your dragons are 4+ drops that matter, but they go under the Blood and Snow, because by the time your opponent gets to 6 mana, they're already taken lethal.
Yeah.
The clerics are generating a lot of value via Inquisitor Captain and Aura, yeah. So I just don't feel like wraths are where you want to be at. But I could be wrong. Blue-White Control is still Blue-White Control, and there will be people that make day 2 of the event with it. But for my money, I still think that the Dragons deck is the best deck to pick, especially if you're not 100% sure as to how Alchemy is playing out. I think the Dragons deck is the best deck to start with.
I'd
You
agree
have
based on just everything we went through, but I think black white might be the second best deck.
it
over
could be. It
mono
just
white.
depends on how quickly you can get your setup on the board without getting disrupted. Because like your creatures do have to stay into play to start making an effect on the board.
Yeah,
what I mean?
and I'm also saying this, with playing 0 games too. It's just
Oh,
based
yeah.
on
Yeah.
Well,
The black white deck, the clerics deck requires a critical mass of guys to start generating all of your value. Now, whether or not you can get to that critical mass before the dragons deck just gets on the board and starts attacking, I haven't seen it yet, but I could be proven wrong. As far as the mono white deck has enough creatures in it that give you the additional value of just like exiling your guy or giving you that tempo advantage to get your opponent low enough that by the time they start to kind of like maybe build up their cleric engine, it's just too late.
okay, I can see that. I don't know. I'm excited. I think I am probably going to play a few of these games after we get done with this cast too, because this is the first time I've actually taken the time to sit down and look through all these decks.
Yeah, my money for this weekend, I'm gonna sit down and try and run this dragons deck through.
Okay. Yeah, so this podcast will actually be up on Thursday. We are going to give it the old college try and do our best to see if we can get these consistently every single Thursday. I think we can do it. That being said, I think we're gonna record our tournaments on Saturday and maybe get you a bonus video over the weekend, or maybe record some testing videos and get those out right before Saturday with a little more information of actual gameplay and what we think would be the best. But I'm going to try to get up first thing Saturday and see if I can day 2 and just put that up and put the deck up I put. So anybody who maybe didn't make their first run or they're waiting until the afternoon or the evening on Saturday, they'll have that information right there day of. Can't get any quicker than that.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna play the dragons deck. Like I said, I'm definitely gonna attempt to get in early Saturday morning. The last open they had, it seems like they kind of fixed their server issues and there weren't a lot of problems. So I'm hoping that that's the case too, because I might need to fire off a couple bullets, as it were. But I'm hoping that I can just get there with this dragon deck.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there's any advantage to playing at different times, at least from what I've seen, because I've played some of them where I played 3 tournaments in one day. Others where I've just played the morning and just played the night. Like I've done kind of, I think, the whole bout of it, but I haven't noticed any advantage or anything different depending on the time of day, or I've never had any issues personally with the servers or anything like that. So
yeah. The only time I had never made that decision based on the advantage. I've only made it on how are the servers doing. I usually wait a little while to see if their servers aren't just going to be overloaded, but that's about it.
that's not a bad idea. I do like to get one in the morning too, just in case I really just want to run it back. And if I wait too long, then that makes it more difficult.
It's true. But yeah, I think that's about it for us this week.
Yeah, this is fun, at least for me, because I haven't really seen these decks, so I'm not sure if everybody is already on top of alchemy. Maybe I've been a little behind with the closing of last year and the beginning of this year. Work has been kind of nuts, but I think this is some good information, and I am excited to record on Saturday and share even more with everybody. So, anything else for me, Steve?
Thanks to the 12 subscribers that we do have on YouTube. We appreciate you guys very much. Thank you for helping us start out on this, and it's a big step.
Yeah, I would second that for sure, because everybody, one person is all it takes, and I'll keep making this as long as there's one person that wants to watch it.
I mean, I'll keep making it because I love talking about and playing Magic.
Yeah, but I mean, like, we could just do this if there was 0 people without having to record it.
Dude,
So
I'm not firing up once a week to tell you what decks you should be playing in the open, man.
if there's one person, we are.
All right, that's fine. If there is one subscriber, we will definitely figure out who that person is, and we'll direct the pod to them specifically.
Yeah, we will just bring them on and let them jump right in the video here. It'll be a celebrity kind of thing,
So Jeff Goldblum, if you're listening, anytime you send us a message, we'll definitely just sit down and directly fill you in on anything you need to know.
Yeah, so Jeff Goldblum was our first subscriber.
I mean, Let's not go with false advertising. I think my wife was our first subscriber.
All right, Jeff
Unless it
Heidelberg
was you,
second.
but still.
I can't subscribe. Actually, this is my channel. No. But
I can.
But thanks everybody. We will see you this Saturday or before. If we find any cool information on the format, we will get that up for you pretty quick. And then yeah, like you said, anybody who watches the cast, we appreciate you, and we'll see you next week.
Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks, guys.